Hello everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel AgriAddict. I'm your mentor for this crash course on horticulture. I am Dr. Deepthi today. I've been graduated in horticulture from Agriculture University, Hyderabad. Then I have done my master's from GKVK University of Agriculture Sciences, Bangalore, in the Department of Fruit Science. I have later finished my PhD from Dr. YSR Horticulture University, Tarapalligudam, Andhra Pradesh. During my academic journey, I have secured All India 21st rank in ICAR AIEEA PG entrance exam during 2005. I've also cleared my SRB9 during 2008 and 9. Uh, so let us start our discussion on the topic plantation crops, especially cashew nut. So let us understand about plantation crops. We all know that a plantation crop is a division of horticulture, but in original sense, the exact meaning of plantation is nothing but a forest crop. So that is raised artificially either by direct sowing or planting. So, but in horticulture, the term plantation refers to a woody perennial crop or trees where produce is consumed only after processing. So these woody perennials are grown in a large contiguous areas or estates, we can call them as estates or plantation by an individual or a company. And these, if you see, plantation crops are cultivated on an extensive scale. So contiguous area is the continuous area, side by side. They will be planting on a large scale for 1,000 hectares or so, either on the plains or on the hilly areas. And these are of high value commercial crops and all are perennials I have mentioned below. And if you look into the examples, areca nut to beetle vine to cacao, cashew nut, cocoa, coffee, oil, palm, rubber, and tea are some of the examples. And these plantation crop production is restricted to most of the tropics. So the geographical distribution of this commercial cultivation is restricted to the tropics, especially the coastal belt of the country. Then under this plantation crops, some of them are sun-loving, like coconut, cashew nut, rubber, oil palm, etc. And a few of them are shade-loving, like cocoa, tea, coffee, betel wine, and so on. Then let us understand a little bit about plantation crops and their economic importance. So, as mentioned before, these are high value commercial crops with greater importance and play a vital role in our Indian economy as well by way of export earnings. So the earnings which are received from exports are high when compared to other crops. So that is the reason why they are highly valued commercial crops in horticulture. Then the plantation industry provides direct as well as indirect employment because this industry supports many allied industries. So other allied industries, not only the processing industry, byproduct industries and also many rural industries are being under this plantation industry. So thereby they generate employment for billions of people surrounding the plantation area. Then these crops also help to conserve the soil and the ecosystem. So if you look, the plantation crops like tea and coffee are cultivated on hill slopes. As I mentioned, they are mostly cultivated on the hill slopes. Thereby, the soil erosion is restricted to a maximum extent. Likewise, if you see the cashew nut, this is cultivated on the wastelands or the barren lands, which is not useful for cultivation of agricultural lands or vegetables or flowers. So in that case, cashew can be easily grown. And these type of soils can be utilized for commercial cultivation. That is one of the major important economic importance of this plantation crops. And if you look, as I've told you, the coastal belt of the country, the production is more. If you look into the percentage share, the top state is the leading state is Kerala with 29.9%. Almost 30% of the country's production share of plantation crops is served from Kerala. Then followed by Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Andhra Pradesh to some extent. Then, after going through the major economic importance of this plantation crop, let us go in detail with the crop cashew nut. So the cashew tree, which is also called as wonder nut, is a tropical evergreen tree that produces the cashew nut and the cashew apple. So nut and apple both are produced from the plant from the tree. Here you can see the nut as the apple as well as nut. Both are of economic importance. So that is why it is called the wonder nut. Mm. Then it is the origin is Brazil, which is tropical South America. Then the scientific name is Anacardium occidental. Then the family is Anacardiaceae, and some of the common names are acaju, cashew, anacard, cashew, etc. All over the world, it is commonly called as anacard or cashew. Then the synonyms here are given by other countries are a dollar earning crop, low crop, or gold mine of the wasteland. Then, if you look into the origin of this species, especially the species of this genus Anacardium, is native to Central America, the Caribbean islands, especially the southern America, South America. So, the southern northern part of the South America is the original origin of this genus, and different species are being concentrated in those areas. If you look, the Portuguese are the one. These colonists in Brazil began exporting the cashew nuts as early as in the 1500s. Then Anacardium occidental is the only species introduced outside the world. So it is introduced outside the world, although many other species are available in the South American nations. However, the only species occidental is introduced to many other countries, and the other species are still exists in the Central America. Then it was introduced to India in the 16th century, that is somewhere around 1578, by the Portuguese to check the erosion in the coastal areas. Then the commercial cultivation in India began only in the 1900s, that is early 1900s. From later India, it has spread to Vietnam and many other Southeast Asian countries. Starting, they have noticed the economic importance of the nut, and then they started exporting from Brazil, and again it has been introduced to India. Thereafter, it has been introduced to other Southeast Asian countries. You have to remember this. Then presently, cashew cultivation is commercial in Brazil, India, Vietnam, Indonesia, tropical Asian and as well as African countries. Then if you see, India is the second largest cashew producer after Ivory Coast. So Ivory Coast in Africa is a country which is leading in cashew nut production. So with a production of 1.6 million metric tons as opposed by India, which is only 1.3 million metric tons. So here you can see the different species which are still existed under the genus Anacardium are Brazilians, Anacardium, Giganteum, Cruatifolium, Mediterranean. All these are present in the native South American countries. So like Brazil, Malaysia, Malaya, Amazon region, so of the South America. So still they are existing, and some of them may have edible nuts. Then come the distribution of the species. If you see the Anacardium occidental cultivation is carried out in the coastal states, and the area under cashew nut cultivation is constantly increasing its acreage. So the over a period of time, if you look, nearly 70 to 75% of the cashew cultivation is done by small and marginal farmers. In contrast, if you see before slides, I have told you that plantation crops are either cultivated the other plantation crops in a large scale. They are cultivated with high-end farmers or the companies. But however, in contrast, this cashew nut is cultivated mostly mostly by the small and marginal farmers. So they earn little bit of 2.5 hectares or so. They own that land, but however, a group of farmers are cultivating this cashew nut on a large scale. Then with the growing health conscious as well as self-awareness, now and then healthy snacking, that is nut consumption is becoming popular on a daily basis. So, and cashews, especially among the all other nuts, it has a rich buttery taste and awesome edgy crunch, always remain one of the everyone's favorite. So among all the nuts, cashew is very liked by most of the people, almost all the people. Be it parties or celebrations, a touch of cashew is all more necessary and craved. Then being one of the major producers. So that is the reason why India is one of major producers, processors, as well as consumers of the cashew nut. The demand of cashew in India is quite overwhelming and it leads to the import. So not only exporting, however, because of the basic rising demand of consumption in India, it is being imported from African countries. Then India's cashew sector has been expanding consistently in the recent years. As I have told you, the farmers are being increasing their acreage in cashew nut production because the government is supporting the cashew business and there has been investment in the research and development as well. And all of these factors have contributed to its expansion in acreage. Then we'll see the distribution of cashew commercial cultivation in India. Here you can see the map. And the eastern coast of the country, the states under cashew nut cultivation are Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, Tamil Nadu, and West Bengal. So the eastern coast. Likewise, the western coast states also like Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, are the primary producers of cashew in the west coast. And however, if you look, Maharashtra is leading in terms of area, production, and productivity in cashew nut cultivation in our country. Then if you look the economics importance or the uses, so almost most of the plant parts of the cashew nut tree is being utilized in some of the other way. But however, the nut is the main economical part. If you look, the bark and leaves are used for the treatment of diarrhea and constipation on a small scale. But the gum is also, which uses from the bark, is used as a binding of books, which has the same properties of gum arabic. It is also used as gum on a commercial scale. And the bark exudes gum. Then, as I told you, the nut, apart from the nut and the cashew apple, the nut is the main economic part, which is rich in protein, calcium, phosphorus, unsaturated fats, vitamins like A, D, E, K, B complex, B1 and B2, as well as carbohydrates. But if you look at the exact figures, the cashew kernels has 47% of fat, almost 50% nearly, then 20%, 1% of protein, and 22% of carbohydrates, all put together on a commercial scale. So that is the reason why, owing to its the fat, so the consumption is more for this the cashew nuts. Then discarded cashew nuts unfit for human consumption, alongside the residues of the oil extraction from cashew kernels, can be used as both poultry feed as well as animal feed. Then I told you this is a cashew apple and this is the cashew nut. So even the nut is the main economic part. Even cashew apple is also not discarded. It is also very much useful and a rich source of vitamin C, almost 5 times more than citrus compared to citrus group. So it contains 10 to 12% of sugars. It is generally prepared for the making of jam, chutney, as well as pickle in some cashew nut growing states or areas. But in Goa, if you see, cashew apple is mashed and juice is extracted for making alcohol. This alcohol is called as a popular beverage called as feni or feni, which is about for consisting of 40 to 40% alcohol content. Then a byproduct is there in the processing of cashew nut. So that is called cashew nut shell liquid. Cashew nut shell liquid. It is a phenol, mainly comprising of anacardic acid. And thereby this anacardic acid is broken down into cardal and cardanol during the processing. So it is rich in antibacterial, antiviral properties. So that is the reason why this cashew nut cell liquid is used in the preparation or in the manufacturing of resins, varnishes, paints, in the insecticides, brake linings, and also wood preservatives. Here you can see if the fruit is cut open. If the nut is cut open, so which is of a kidney shaped kernel or the nut, so the it is half the kernel, half the nut. So this is the shell, and in between we have cashew nut shell liquid. So it is a liquid which is of having commercial importance, byproduct of while heating. I'll tell you in the processing part. Then coming to the botany of the tree. So it is an evergreen, low spreading tree, which grows up to a height of 10 to 15 meters only. So that is a short stated tree with a strong tap root system and extensive lateral roots, which is called as a ramiferous root system. This is, for exam point of view, you can remember ramiferous root system is present in cashew nut. Then the leaves are alternate, simple, round, pinnately veined. It has both intensive and extensive type of branching. So intensive type of branching, it grows 20 to 30 centimeters and terminate into a panicle. 3 to 8 laterals arise from below the panicle and leads to a bushy growth. So the intensive shoot is the shoot arise into a panicle, or it spreads flowers. It put forth flowers. Thereafter, again, laterals arise from the panicle. So shoots arise from this panicle also. But if you see the extensive shoot, it grows to 20 to 30 centimeters. But however, the bud sprouts below and leads the further growth. So the growth is expanding, the vegetative growth. Meanwhile, during in the axils, the panicle or the flowers arise. Continues to 2 to 3 years without flowering. It continues. So that is the thing, extension shoot. But however, on the laterals, the axillary buds may lead to, under favorable conditions, may lead to the growth of the panicle. So it is a spreading tree. High yielders have more than 60% intensive branches. So if you look, high yielding have 60% of more intensive branches. So intensive branches are important in case of cashew nut growing, whereas low yielders will have less than 20% intensive branches. So intensive branches are the one which put forth panicles or the flowers, inflorescence, thereby leading to less vegetative growth. But however, extension shoots will spread and give more vegetative growth when compared to flowering. Then it is a polygamous monoecious tree. That is, 95% of them are staminate flowers. So the male flowers, and the rest are hermaphrodites, like in case of mango only. Male as well as hermaphrodite flowers are present in the panicle. Flowering occurs in three phases, especially. First, the male will open, then the mixed flowers of the hermaphrodites. So some phases, the female flowers also open. Thereby, the pollination occurs, and then the female the anthers will start producing pollen, and thereby pollination occurs in the when the female ovule start receptivity. Then pollination is by insects and wind. If you look, 85% of the perfect flowers are fertilized, out of which only 4 to 6% reaches to maturity stage. So if you look, most of them are staminate flowers. In that 5%, if you look in a panicle, 5% are hermaphrodite. Out of that 5% perfect flowers, only 4 to 6% reaches to maturity. For one single panicle, we can expect 4 to 6 fruits. And cashew apple, if you look, it is a modification of the peduncle, that is a fleshy peduncle. The nut is a real fruit, it is a drupaceous nut. So you have to remember the nut is a drupe like in case of mango, because this is also belongs to the family Anacardiaceae. And the apple is the fleshy peduncle. So kidney shaped nut is gray in color usually, and this vary in size, the shape, weight, and shelling percentage in different cultivars. Then here you can see the picture which shows the tree, small tree or a shrub in nature, then the leaves, then the flowers or the inflorescence. You can see the pinkish shade. Then the cashew fruits. So the nuts as well as the cashew apple. Then the tree bark you can see. Then coming to commercial varieties. Here, according to the states which are grown, the coastal belt of the country, so the varieties are restricted to these states. If you look into the varieties which are commercially grown in Tamil Nadu state are Ridachalam series 1, 2, 3, then BRI series 3 and 4, then H1. Then in Kerala, Akshaya, Amrita, Anaga, Anakkayam, Dana, Darashri. And to some extent, recent varieties like Kanaka, Madakdara, 1 and 2, then Priyanka, then Sulabha. Then if you go to the Andhra Pradesh, there are BPP series 1 to 8. Then Karnataka series like Chintamani, then NRCC series, then Ulal series are commercially cultivated. In Maharashtra, Vainderla series 1 to 7. In Goa, it is Goa 1, and Orissa, it is Bhubaneswar 1. So if you look into the varietal description, so here before in the table we have seen the different varieties and their the state commercial cultivation in which the state is concerned. But now if we look the varietal description for Andhra Pradesh, here I can go through the different BPP series, and these are mostly from selections from cross hybrids or the selections as such. So from the hilly slopes and the naturally occurring areas of cashew nut, and some of them are clonal selections, some of them are direct selections. Then if we look into Maharashtra, the improved varieties are Vengarla. These are also improved varieties, maybe of either hybridization work or through clonal selection. So Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala also, they are also selections. Then coming to the climate and soil requirement. Before that, I'd like to announce you that we offer 2 sets of free mock tests, which is available in our website or app. You can utilize these tests to enhance your JRF preparation. But if you are seeking for a comprehensive, but if you are seeking for a comprehensive mock test for the entire syllabus, you can enroll to our mock test bundle, which is available in our website for just rupees 299. We also offer online master course for horticulture, which includes video lectures, study materials, the mock tests, for previous year question paper discussions, and also doubt clearing sessions. So all these links for these courses are available in the description box. So click on the link and register today. Climate, it is a hardy tropical plant which grows between 280 north and south latitudes. So it can be grown to an elevation up to 1000 meters, but for profit purpose, say, 600 meters elevation is commercially viable. It requires a well distributed annual rainfall for about 500 millimeters per year, and it can withstand to some dry climates also, that is around 300 to 400 per year is also sufficient for this growth. Then if you look the spread of the rainfall should be around over 5 to 7 months. However, 3 to 4 months dry period before harvesting is favorable. Then it requires 15 to 40 degrees an average temperature. Then the mean temperature should not be less than 20 degrees centigrade during winters because it is sensitive to cold. The relative humidity should be less than, if the relative humidity is less than 10%, leaf scorching and fruit drop occurs naturally. But we have to see that the temperature should not fall below 40%. And proximity to the sea is favorable for its growth and flowering, which is should be around 160 kilometers in radius. Then if you look into the soil requirements, cashew is raised on laterite soils, red soils and coastal sands to that extent. But if you see in the east coast, it is grown on porous and poorly sandy soils. But however, in the west coast, it is grown on the laterite soils. Sandy loams are the best soils with a depth of 3 meters is ideal for commercial cultivation of cashew nut, and the crop cannot withstand waterlogging, but it can withstand to drought to some extent. You have to remember this. Then it requires a pH of 6 to 7.5 for its commercial cultivation. Then coming to the propagation, it is propagated by both the means, seed as well as vegetative means. Methods of vegetative propagation are air layering, patch budding, veneer grafting, side grafting, epicotyle grafting, and softwood grafting were found to be successful for plant propagation in cashew nut. However, if you look, softwood grafting is commercially cultivated and has become more suitable these days for the propagation of cashew nut. If you look, the seed propagation is mostly restricted to the raise of rootstock, but however, some farmers are restricted to this seedling raising only by seed germination, the seed methods of plant propagation. But however, for raising of rootstocks, for grafting purpose, seed propagation is commonly used. For the selection of elite mother tree as per rootstock, one should one should have the following characters. The elite mother species or the variety should be the plant should be having the following characteristics. Even the scion bud material also, the plant should be selected. The mother plant should be selected based upon these following characters like compact canopy, dwarf trees with intensive branching, I have told you. So the intensive branching should be more than 60%. And more productive shoots, that is more productive shoots from per unit area. Then comes, we should have a short flowering phase, which is around 2 to 3 weeks. Then more than 20% of hermaphrodite or bisexual flowers. Then for panicle, the number of fruit set should be around 5 to 8. Then only it is selected. Then the size or the weight of the nuts should be 5 to 6 grams on an average, which accounts for 120 to 130 nuts per kg. So the yield also should be considered while selecting the mother plant, and it should have the regular bearing habit. Then if you look into the details of the softwood grafting, softwood grafts have been a high rate of establishment. It is one of the best method of commercial propagation of cashew nut because of the early flowering. Then the best time for grafting is the monsoon season, somewhere from June to August or November, December also in some cases, in some states it is followed. Then the graft success is more than 80% or nearly 80% during favorable conditions, weather conditions. Then 30 to 40 days old seedlings are used as rootstocks. So once the seed germinates, it takes the plant to grow. To be utilized as a rootstock, we have to wait until 40 to 30 to 40 days, so 1 month or so. Then the terminal portion of the rootstock is cut up to 15 centimeters. It headed back from the ground. For that scion, if you see the scion, it should be of 3 to 5 month old stick from the mother plant should be selected, and it should be cured properly. Pre-curing is required at least 7 days. How it is done? It should be taken 10 to 12 centimeters from the tip that should be taken, and below leaves should be removed. They're nipped off. With that should be around pencil thickness and brown in color. That should have dormant buds. So the dormant terminal bud should be plumpy in nature. So some leaves or shoots up to 10 to 12 centimeter long are retained. However, after this they are removed and they are pre-cured on the mother plant itself. So as and when the rootstock is ready, then after 7 days, the scion stick is removed from the mother plant. It is given a cut. Then it is firmly inserted into the rootstock, and the graft joint is tied with a polythene strap of 30 by 2 centimeters of 100 gauge thickness. Then if you look into the procedure of softwood grafting, how it is done, here you can see it is a scion material. This is pre-curing. Then the stalk is taken. It is headed back to 10 to 15 centimeters, and then the scion is cut such a way, scion and stalk are cut and then inserted. Then the graft union takes place, and a new grafted plant is being seen, is being formed. A transparent polythene cap of 20 by 4 200 gauge is inserted into the scion and left in the propagation shed for 2 to 3 weeks. Thereafter, the union takes place. And after 3 weeks to 1 month, 70 to 80% sprouting is observed in the polythene caps and removed. The grafts are shifted to open conditions in the nursery for further growth. Then let us look into the planting and layout details. So it is in general followed to most of the fruit plants. The same wise, yeah, we have to choose the planting density as well, planting the spacing as well as the method of planting. Then at points we have to make pits. First, we have to clear the land, and pit digging should be done during the summer months, and planting should be done somewhere in June, July. So, if you are going for grafting in monsoon, then we can go for layout of planting of the grafts or the seedlings during September and October months. If you look, the pit size can be of 60 by 60 by 60 or 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter. In case of in normal lands, but in case of hard lateritic soils in the west coast, you can go for much bigger pits. Then filling with the pits with topsoil, FIM 5 kgs and also rock phosphate 200 grams. Then for planting, the soil is scooped out and then filled with the plant graft is by removing the polythene around the nursery plant without disturbing the earthworm. It is planted upside down. Then the normal density, planting density, which is followed is around 7 by 7 to 10 by 10, depending upon the soil fertility. However, wider spacing for fertile soil is and closer spacing in case of less soil is a general practice for commercial cultivation of cashew nut. The high density planting, normal planting which ranges from 7 to 10 centimeter, but this ranges from 4 to 5 meters distance. But however, rectangular planting is also followed in some cases if you are going for intercultivation, intercropping. Then planting and layout. If you see a spacing of, as we have mentioned here, if you look, some of them are following a spacing of 7.5 by 7.5 or 8 by 8, which gives 156 to 175 plants per hectare. This is generally recommended. Either too far or too close is not recommended nowadays. So this is the common practice. Then for high density planting also, it is recommended 4 by 4 spacing for the initial 11 years only. Thereafter, thinning out should be done, and a spacing of 8 by 8, almost double should be followed in order to get maximum yields. Then if you look on plain lands as well as slopes also, the spacing differs. One can go for a rectangular system of planting, which yields a 10 by 5, which yields 200 plants per hectare. Then if you see general on the plains, when we go for square system of planting, then even in some other hilly slopes or plain lands, where the east coastal regions, some of them will go for triangular system of planting. So alternate plant is being planted. So the same spacing is used. So if it is 7 by 7, so, then again 7 by 7. If it is 7 by 7, so it is exactly rows are planted on the exact opposite to the other plant. But however, in between the plant, if you are going, then it can accommodate more number of plants. So if here we can see the table which accommodates the spacing and which can accommodate the number of plants or the plant population per hectare in the square system as well as triangular system. If you see 10 by 10, if you are going for spacing, it can accommodate 16 plants when compared to square system. Triangular system can accommodate 16 more plants per hectare. Likewise, 8 by 8, 7 by 7, 7.5 by 7.5, then high density planting like 4.4, 4 by 4 or 5 by 5, which can yield more than 60 plants in triangular system and compared to square system. Like then rectangular spacing planting 8 by 8, which yields almost nearly 50 plants per hectare when compared to square system and triangular system. Then irrigation, the interculture operations. When you look into the irrigation, cashew is usually grown as rainfed crop. So artificial irrigation might not be required in most of the coastal plains because most of the commercial cultivation is taken by small and marginal farmers. So it is grown naturally as a rainfed crop. Then drip irrigation alone for 60 to 80 liters without fertilizers increases the yield to about 60 to 70% when compared to trees receiving no irrigation or no fertilizers. So, some of the farmers which can afford can go for a drip irrigation. Then supplementary irrigation, sometimes instead of drip irrigation or rainfed completely, we can give 200 liters per tree during the dry spells, that is especially during November and March, to enhance fruit retention and also to double the yield for the plantations who did not receive supplementary irrigation. Then over irrigation is injurious, so it cannot withstand waterlogging conditions as it leads to excessive vegetative growth of the canopy, leading to reduction in nut size also and increase in pests and disease infestations. Then irrigation should not be given at the time of flowering, as it will add to vegetative growth rather than fruiting. Then after irrigation, the other important intercultural operation is manuring, or the application of manures and fertilizers. So an integrated approach should be followed by growing leguminous or green manure or cover crops, then recycling of this crop residues to enhance the the soil, organic matter of the soil. Then application of organic mixtures as well as biofertilizers need to be followed. Then if you see the leaf litter and the cashew apple residues can also be effectively used for vermicomposting, which will be ready in about 95 days to 100 days. Then growing of leguminous cover or green manures is highly beneficial in any young plants. Then cover cropping prevents soil erosion then conserves water and also suppresses weed growth during the early years of plantation. When organic manures are used, 25 kgs of poultry manure, 60 kgs of FIM and 30 kgs of vermicompost can be used per adult tree. So more than 7 years or 10 years or so, for adult tree, each require this organic manures, these amounts of organic manures. But however, if you apply 1/5 dose of the organic manure during the first year, 2/5 dose during the second year, progressively reaching to full dose during the fifth year onwards. As I told you, fifth to seventh year onwards, the tree is considered as adult. Until then, only 2/5 or the 1/5 of the dose of the manures and fertilizers is recommended. Then interculture operations like intercultivation or intercropping and training and pruning. If you look, the basin should be kept weed free. Weeding is also very much important. Then mulching with dry leaves or paddy husk is good during summers. Then inter spaces can be plowed twice a year, once in the beginning and the second one in the end of the rainy seasons. Then LS, the areas should be intercrop profitably. So for intercropping, we need a ground. We can go for groundnut, horse gram, agriculture crops. Some of the agriculture crops, pulses or grams, and also some of the vegetable crops like cowpea nurseries, paddy tree nurseries can also be taken as intercrops in newly established cashew nut orchards. However, if you look, the tree plants like cashew forestries can also be used as intercrop in case of the examples are Andhra Pradesh and Orissa. And if you see in Goa, the tree plants like the eucalyptus and teak are being used as intercrops. Then training and pruning. So generally training is required for the during the early stages of the plantation, that is up to 150 centimeters 50 centimeters from the ground level. The side shoots should not be allowed to grow in order to get an umbrella shaped tree. But pruning of the deadwood crisscross branches is usually followed between harvesting and blooming stage, that is during June to September. Then if you look the harvest and yield, the crop comes to fruiting only after 3 to 5 years of planting. And from 10th year onwards, it attained commercial bearing. So status, commercial bearing status. Then the commencement of flowering differ from west to east coast. So it differs east to west growth, west coast of the west coast states. Generally, if you see the flowers, cashew nut flowers during December to January in the west coast. However, it is late in the east coast. That is during January and February. Then fruits are ready to harvest for about 2 months after fertilization or the pollination of the flowers. Once after it set the fruits, it takes 2 months to get the complete growth of the fruit. The peak picking months are around March and May during the summer months. The ripened fruits, the harvesting maturity is that the ripened fruits will fall down, one or two will get fall down, and they are collected manually. If it's like the harvesting is done through manually, so it is a short stated tree, so one can climb up the tree and pick manually. Then good quality nuts are usually gray green in color. They're smooth and well filled. So after pricking the cashew apple along with the cashew nut, the nuts are separated from the apple and then they are dried in the sun for 2 to 3 days to bring down the moisture content to about 10 to 12%. This is generally followed. Then if we look into the yield also depends upon the variety, soil, rainfall, sex ratio, the ratio of the staminate to the hermaphrodite flowers. So that fruit setting, the percentage fruit set is much lower in different varieties, is lower to higher in different varieties, and it differs from east coast to west coast. Then crop management practices. If you look, individual plant yields very particularly in place of seedling progenesis. So the grafts as well as seedlings, there is also a difference. But if you look on average, 3 to 4 kg per tree per year is the yield for adult tree. But after 15 years of age, we can expect 1600 kg per hectare can be obtained. So for individual tree, it is around 3 to 4 kgs. But if you look for hectare, it is around 1600 kg per hectare. Then coming to the pests and diseases, so the first main pest for cashew nut cultivation on the commercial scale is stem and root border. It is Placerius perugensis. So these you can see here the larva of the stem and root border, then the adult, then the affected tree trunk you can see here during the collar zone of the trunk you can see here the part which is in contact with the soil. So this is called the collar region. So this is the place where this stem and root border usually attacks. So if you see the presence of small holes in the collar region, oozing out gum and exclusion of chewed fibers and excreta through the holes. Then tree shows different degrees of foliar yellowing. Then the later stages, the shading of the leaves, drying of the twigs, and gradual death of the tree is being followed. If you look the control measures, one has to be. It is very difficult to share the trees in the middle or advanced stages of this infestation. But however, to some extent, if we can check during the initial stages, we can go for control measures by application of coal tar and kerosene in 1:1 ratio near the trunk portion, 1 meter height. It should be a good control measure, prophylactic measure. But however, if we in the middle or the advanced stages of infestation, should go for stem padding. So here we can cover the trunk with the cotton wool soaked with chloriferiphos pesticides or also neem oil 5%. So to some extent we can reduce the infestation. The second pest, major pest, and the serious pest of cashew in east and west coast in the cashew nut growing regions of country is a tea mosquito bug. Tea mosquito bug, which is also called leaf or shoot sucker. It is Helopeltis antony. It causes 30% economic loss by inflorescence blight, immature nut fall. So it sucks the syrup, from the sap from the leaves, tended twigs, from the growing buds, as well as from the nuts also. This infestation inflorescence usually turn black and die, and however the immature fruits drop off. So that is a major pests of cashew nut. The control measures are spraying pesticides like monocrotophos 0.5%, 1% carbaryl, profenophos 0.1%, then some of the other pesticides at the time of the vegetative first only, and the second time the time of panicle emergence, and the third time at the time of fruit setting. So it has to be given in 3 split doses. Then only we can control this tea mosquito bug. Then some of the care should be taken. Do not plant any cashew crops with Helopeltis host such as cotton, tea, sweet potato, guava, and mango. Then the third important pest is leaf miner, that is Acrocerops syngrama, which here you can see the mining is being done on the leaves. Mining is done by the caterpillars. The thin epidermal peels swells up in the mined areas of the caterpillar, which appears as white blistered patches in the initial stages. Later on, they develop into black color on the leaf surface. So in older trees, these blisters dry and droop off, leaving the big holes, or sometimes they may turn out into black color on further diseases spread. Then the management of this leaf miner or the control measures are spraying of carbaryl. So that is the reason like fungicide is also used along with pesticides like malathion pesticide. So or endosulfan, which is spraying for about 1500 to 2000 liters per water per hectare. So it needs that. Then control and destroy the damaged plant parts, so it cannot further infest the healthy plants. So spraying of neem seed kernel extract 5% 2 rounds, first at the new flush formation and second at the flower formation is also practiced. Then comes the diseases. So it is reported that more than 48 fungi are infesting the cashew nut crop, which are of less importance. But however, 3 to 4 main fungal diseases are present. Among them, the first one is damping off, which is spread by Phytophthora palmivora species of the fungus. It usually occurs in the nurseries where the drainage conditions are poor for the seedling or the grafts. If you see these attacks, if you see the fungus attacks the roots or the collar region of the seedlings, or both regions and cause their death. So the plants become pale when they are infested with this fungi. However, you can see water stroke lesions can be seen on the leaves and the collar regions, which turn dark and griddles the stem. So it loosens the stem bark also. Then the seedlings droop and ultimately the plant die in the nursery itself. So early care has to be taken off in the nurseries by providing proper drainage, drench the nursery beds or bags with fungicide. So that is 0.1% alcohol or 1% Bodo mixture. Then the second important disease is pink disease. So this is also major important, or the dieback, which is caused by Corticium salmonicolor fungi. So the white or pinkish growth of the fungus on the bark is observed. Here you can see the pinkish color bark, later on which turns into black color. In advanced stages, bark splits and peels off, affected shoots drying up from tip to bottom. So the branches will starts dying back. That is the reason why it is called dieback, from tip of the branch or the shoot to the back to the axil. So that is the reason why the term dieback has been given. Sometimes only one branch is affected, but often many branches turn yellow and shed, giving a barren appearance to a portion of the tree. Then the control measures which one has to follow for this is pruning of affected branches, application of Vitavax 1% to the affected portion. So first pruning, and then it is applied, the Vitavax is applied on the affected portion. Then spraying is need to be done twice. Once we can go for spraying Vitavax also, not only in powdered form, in liquid form also we can go. That is during once in May June period, and also during second during the October November months. The third important disease is inflorescence blight, which is caused, the causal organism is Gliosporium gliosporides. So the characteristic symptom is drying of the floral branches. The symptoms appear as minute water soak lesions, same, but on the rachis, main rachis or the secondary rachis, it is on the inflorescence. So that is the reason why it is called inflorescence blight. The lesions are pinkish brown, enlarge and soon turn scabby, and develop into bigger patches, resulting in drying of the branches. So here you can see the inflorescence is scabby. So there's extra growth is also seen, and the gum is also oozes out. The exudates, gum exudates are seen on the affected regions. So thereby they turn black, and tender fruits are also shriveled. Here you can see the tender nuts. Even before the cashew apple is formed, also the nuts are formed. Those are affected. Then the incidence is very severe when the cloudy weather prevails. So that is the problem after fruit set. So the control measures here, a combination spray of fungicide as well as insecticide or the pesticide, fungicide Bitox and the pesticides Demacron for 300 ml into 100 liters of water. Spraying is recommended. Then the other important disease is shoot rot or leaf fall, shoot rot and leaf fall, which is caused by Phytophthora species, Nicotianae. During this, the southwest monsoon of June to August, extensive leaf fall and shoot rot symptoms are observed. So during the monsoon season, it is prevalent. The black elongate lesions are first developed on the stem with exudation of gum. Later on, it spreads up and down, causing the tender stems to collapse and tender leaves to shrivel up. The lower mature leaves are also infected with blank elongated lesions. So first it is observed on the shoot, thereafter it is observed on the leaves. That too concentrated near to the midrib, which later spreads to the main lateral veins, and then the leaf blade. So it usually starts with the midrib and then it expands to the edges of the leaf. Then the infected leaves and the shoots shed. The control is spraying Voda mixture 1% onset before of the season, before the onset of the monsoon. We'll check the spread of the disease. Then comes processing. So I told you that most of the almost all the plantation crops cannot be utilized or directly consumed unless until the produce is processed. So what is meant by processing? And in case of cashew nut, it is a very extensive process. If you see, extraction of the kernel from the hard shell is called processing. Here you can see the hard shell, the cashew economic part is the shell, and the edible part is called the kernel. So it has a cashew apple as well as a cashew nut. So removing the apple and the nut is very hard, inside which we have the kernels or the edible part. So for that we have to remove, which cannot be possible in one single step. A series of steps need to be followed for this processing, and it is done manually in India, whereas in other countries it is done mechanically. There are around 5,000 units of cashew processing units in India. So let us look into the different steps of cashew processing. The first one is roasting. It is done for shelling of or loosening of the kernel inside. So the different methods of roasting are open pan method, drum roasting method, and oil bath method. Open pan method is just simply roasting them openly, which will catch fire. The nuts will catch fire, and then water is sprinkled after some time. They are thrown on the ground and covered with soil. Then here the major drawback is cashew nut shell liquid is not recoverable. Then if you see the drum roasting method, so the nuts are put inside the rotating metal drum and heated from below. So these nuts also catch fire, and then temperature of 100 to 120 degrees centigrade is maintained inside the drum. And after some time, the fire is put off by sprinkling water and ash. Then the kernels will get loose to the shell. So here also the cashew nuts shell liquid is not recoverable. Then the other important method of roasting of these nuts is oil bath roasting method. So where the nuts are held in white trays, they are passed through a bath of heated CSNL liquid. So the previous batch CSNL liquid is utilized for this oil bath roasting method. The same oil is used for roasting of the next batch. So that is the example here. For about 120 to 200 degrees centigrade. Then the nuts take a long time, for 1 to 3 minutes for passing through this medium. Then cashew cells get ruptured. They release CSNL. Once again, they release CSNL liquid, and the nuts are cooled. Then 50% here the major advantage is 50% of the CNSL liquid, the cashew nut shell liquid is being recoverable either in the, as compared to the two methods. This method will give the byproduct cashew nut shell liquid, and uniform roasting is ensured, which eliminates the charring of the kernel. So when compared to the first two methods, then the second step after roasting is shelling. So what is shelling actually? The breaking of the roasted nuts to extract the kernel is called shelling. So the nuts are broken with a wooden mallet. Then after cracking, the kernels are extracted with wire needle. The whole and clean kernels are extracted carefully. The shelling percentage may vary from variety to variety, which is around 15 to 30%. And then drying. The next step is drying. Extracted kernels are held in wire mesh trays. They are dried in hot air chambers for about 80 to 90 degrees centigrade for about 6 to 7 hours to loosen the outer covering of the kernel. That is the testa. I'll show you in the coming slide. Then the fourth step of the processing is peeling. The peel or the testa is usually thin reddish brown or pinkish color of the kernel is called testa. The removal of this testa is known as peeling. It is done usually by hand. Then grading. So the nuts are sorted out into different grades such as whole, splits, broken and all. And if you look, the grading is done based on the number of kernels per pound or kg. So which is usually called count. So number of kernels per kg or per pound is called count. So the grading is done according to the count. The kernels are graded as whole, splits and broken pieces as I told you. It is also done manually. Then if you look, there are 25 grades of cashew nuts, but however, 8 grades are being commercial in our country. That is 2-ton count. So 2-ton, we can say that 2-ton kernels per kg or per pound. So that count is called as 2-ton count, which is also called Zambo holes, the best quality. However, if you see 240 count is also there, likewise 280 count. This is for exporting all the American quality. Then the other one is 320 count. This is the standard quality, which is for markets of Indian standards. Then the other grade is splits. So splitting, so here you can see this is the whole nut, and if it is split into 2 kernels, and grade is called split. Then pieces, small pieces, then baby pieces, and the broken nuts. While shelling or while different processes of different stages of processing, some bits of kernels can be now and then are available. So that grade, those are also marketed in the cashew nut sources. So that is a reason why broken nuts are also are graded into a different group. Then the other step of processing is sweating. The dried kernels are brittle and liable for breaking. So why one should go for sweating? What is the meaning of sweating? So the kernels are conditioned in humid chambers. Again, once they are roasted, they become dry and brittle. Then again, they are put in humidified chambers for 80 to 80% humidity for 5 to 6 hours. Then humidity is maintained by air coolers. Kernels absorbs moisture, so thereby the kernels are not such brittle. So they are, but however they have that crunchy when put into the mouth. They have that crunchy edge. Then the next step is packaging. It is done by Vita packing method. So once the sweating is done, furthermore the imbibing of the moisture is stopped. So with the help of this packaging, so Vita packing method. What is this Vita packing method? These are with the help of vacuums. The tins are vacuumed. So without any pressure, pressure is removed and also filled with CO2 and sealed. And these are packed in 25 pounds tin or 4 gallons tin. Here is the picture which shows the different steps of processing. So after harvesting, the cashew nut is removed from the apple. Then first, basically, they are sun-dried and pre-graded. Then they are good quality nuts are taken for roasting. Then the other step is roasting. I have told you 3 different types of roasting are there. Either of this can be followed. Then shelling, removing of the shells and the nuts, they are separated. During this roasting process only, we can restore cashew nut shell liquid. After shelling, then they are oven dried. Again, they are dried dry cabinets. Then once they are peeled manually, once they are dried, and then they are graded into different grades like holes, splits, and also bits and pieces. Then finally they are sent to humidifiers and packaging. So this packaging will ensure that the nuts are in a good form and shape. Thank you. So this is all about cashew nut cultivation. So in the next class we'll come with another topic. Until then, thank you once again.